Welcome to the Aro Benaiah Show. Today, I will be speaking with someone who bring the perfect blend of creativities, resilience, and business discipline. Lesle Lane, a third generation photographer, former professional ice skater, and a CEO of Studio 13. Leslie have transformed her family traditional photography business into a modern, scalable brand powered by independent creative across the Midwest. She's one of the few women leading in the commercial photography space, and she has built a reputation for excellent mentorship and vision. From the discipline of competitive ice skating to the reality of running a creative business in the gig economy. Leslie has lived a multiple life, and each one has shaped her into the leader she is today. It's really a pleasure having you on the show, Leslie.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, Leslie, what was it like growing up?
Well, it was very different than life now. Being that I'm a third generation photographer and we ran the business out of our home, you did not leave our apartment, which was the second story of the building, in your pajamas or slippers. You were dressed, you were ready to greet clients, and you were ready to behave professionally, even if you were just going downstairs to talk to your mom and dad. So it was a very different way to live life. I wouldn't trade it for the world. Loved every minute of it and grateful to have that experience.
Wow, wow. Amazing, amazing. So how did those earlier experience, what did they teach you about entrepreneurship and businesses and every other part before you actually more like start doing what you start doing today?
Well, I mean, I'm doing a very similar incantation to the business that my parents did. So they were commercial photographers. I'm a commercial photographer. My grandparents were portrait wedding photographers. So they were the ones that did something different than we did. But I saw the ups and downs of business that my parents went through. I saw the recessions. I saw the hard times. I saw when they were worried that, things were not going to stay the way they are. And I think that anybody that's in business needs to be prepared that running your own business is not linear. You do not do this in a straight line. It is pretty much like a bowl of spaghetti when you run your own business. It's all over the place. So watching my parents do that was very formative. And it was also good to prepare me for everything that I've been through, because I actually have been through more economic and industrial changes in my lifetime than they went through in theirs. So I think it was very helpful for me.
Wow, wow, amazing. So when did you personally decide that photography will become what you care about, not just more like from the heritage perspective?
Well, I had a camera in my hand from the time I was 6. So
Oh,
I always knew how to work a camera, and that was before the meters were internal.
yeah.
So by the time I was 10 years old, I knew how to shoot film. But I didn't really decide it was what I wanted to do with my life on my own accord, let's say. My stepfather became very ill, and he was taken out of our family business abruptly. And my mother told me, "You're either going to take it over today or we're going to shut it down." So I thought very hard later on in my career that maybe I would quit, but I didn't. And I'm glad I didn't. But those early days when I took over my family business, it was because I had to. It was a necessity. And looking back on it now, I'm not sure I would change anything.
Wow, wow, that was really, really amazing. And the fact that at age 6 you already have a camera in your hand. I'm just wondering how fascinating the sense of responsibility that becomes so done on you at that young to that age. Being that, yeah, you're handling a camera on your hand. And this was not what is usually cut across everybody. Everybody then does not have access to camera. And here you were 6 years old. Yeah. Wow, that was a lot. Yeah. So, you had a whole life as a professional ice skater. How did that discipline and performance mindset translate into business leadership?
I was just speaking to a lacrosse player this morning. So I do a lot of mentorship with young people. And she was talking about that she got her job in marketing, not just because she was an athlete. And I said, please do not minimize your athletic experience to being a formative part of how you ended up getting a job at a multinational corporation right out of college. Because when you're an athlete for long periods of time, I started skating for real. Like I started skating the first time, again, 6 years old, I moved to Indiana and my life changed. My stepfather changed my life a lot. But I started competing at the age of about 8. And when you compete at a sport from the time you're 8 until
Yeah.
you're 24. That was when my career changed, 8 to 24. That's a lot of years to fall down, get back up, fail, learn to succeed, fail again, learn to succeed again. And I was skating at 5:30 in the morning. I would have to get up at 4 to 4:30 5 days a week to get to the rink. And that kind of discipline just absolutely makes it so that when you need to be up at 5 o'clock in the morning for a shoot, or maybe you need to get the editing done before you go to your next shoot, or you need to write an email to your employees so that they can do other things while you're out taking pictures. You have that discipline to set the alarm, get up and do what you need. And that all came from ice skating. The other thing that came from ice skating was my coach that meant the most to me was my very first mentor. And she stood by me and guided me even when I was having children and I had long quit skating. And so she led the way to teach me how to mentor people because she was mentoring me. So it's just multifaceted how skating affected my life on every level.
Wow, that was really amazing. I'm just imagining the discipline that involved and the fact that you were consistent at it from age 8 to 24. Wow, that was really a whole lot. That's 16 years dedicated to skating. I could imagine the level of skills you actually have in it owing to this consistency. That's really pretty a whole lot. So, what was the turning point when you realized your family business need to be modernized?
Well, I always tell people necessity is the mother of invention. You don't really know what you don't know. And my mother tried when she was in her to get this business so that it wasn't surrounded by one person or even two people. And she couldn't make it work. Back then, the big studios. So think, the 1980s, the early 90s, we had an 8,000 square foot facility. We had equipment that was large and cumbersome. And that was really the benefit of what she had to offer young photographers coming into her business. Where now we're much more nimble, the equipment is smaller, less expensive. And so I was able to take my mother's thought of having a community of photographers and I was able to elevate it. So I could no longer take on the amount of work that was coming in my door. And my options were to just simply refer that off to one of my competitors and lose that revenue, or to teach other photographers how to do what I do and provide them with equipment and resources, and then increase my overall sales for the business while allowing that photographer to still make a bona fide living on their own. So it really came down to technology, the changes in the cameras, sizes. It came down to that my plate was too full. I could not take on any more work. And the fact that I didn't want to turn down business while doing it. And so that's how everything came to pass, that I now have about 9 contract workers. For you, those of you that are international, that means I don't pay payroll taxes, I don't pay health insurance, I don't pay workers' compensation insurance. That just means that they make their own hours. They work for me when they want to, and when they want to say no, they say no. So all of that happened together to make me have this now conglomerate of assistants, photographers, videographers, and administrators that all work on behalf of the Studio 13.
Wow, well, that was really amazing. Is the fact that what your grandmom couldn't do. Yeah, there was no whole lot of invention then, and the fact that when it comes to camera, then it was cumbersome, it was big, it was large, and everything. Compared to now, where the system is pretty very small and yeah, and effective too. And the fact that you're able to kind of, because at one point where you just make a reference of you have a whole lot of handy job that was difficult to kind of there was no much hand to handle it. Your system building contract stuff was really amazing, being that with that, you could actually be able to kind of train them in your own system and how you want them to do the job. Quality is being on check and everything. And that was really pretty amazing. So as you expand, what was the hardest part of moving from a creative to a CEO?
Control, absolutely losing control over the creative process. Having enough confidence that I am training my people well, that they have handbooks, they have standard operating procedures, they have resources that they can refer to. And so understanding that you have to trust that you have done your job as an executive to train your team. and then keeping control of the things that need to be kept control of. So my photographers, they don't edit anything. They hand those images over to my team. We have a standard way that we edit to keep consistency. The business practices are extremely important. One of the things that photographers don't do well is run the business. They don't go out and find customers well. They don't quote efficiently. They don't bill the jobs efficiently. They don't deliver the jobs efficiently. So by keeping control over all of those things and then letting the photographer have some of the creative license, we can keep control over the things that really make our brand matter, and then we can let go of some of the things that aren't as important, or maybe they offer something different than I offer. Different's not bad, it's just different.
Wow, wow, amazing, amazing. This is really a whole lot, and it just speaks volume to our consistency when it comes to business and every other particular stuff. This is really amazing. So, what is your advice will you give to women who want to break into male-dominated creative field?
A creative field, because creative fields can differ based on who you're reaching out to. So if you're reaching out to what I call business to consumer, so that would be portraited wedding photography. That would be people that are going out and dealing directly with the person that's going to use their images. Women can do that a little bit more effectively. Here in America, we are still far, far behind in women not having to be the primary caretaker of children, the primary caretaker of their home. We're way far behind the rest of the world in that. And so it's very difficult for women to break into commercial photography because that requires them to work during an 8 to 5 business day, where portrait and wedding photography will let them work at nights and weekends. So my first thing would be, what is your home life like? How is it real for you to set this up? Do you have a partner in the home that is going to allow you to pursue the field you want to? So that's the first question they need to ask themselves. And then based on the answers to that, then that can help you decide whether you can go into a creative field that will require you to work nights and weekends, or whether you can go into a creative field that you can work Monday through Friday. But those two things have to be decided first for any woman to get into the field. But the first and most important question is, what does your home life look like? Can you be successful while your partner is either working or doing something else? What's it like at home first?
Amazing. Like, knowing what their life is all about, they could actually work out things around it. What do most creatives get wrong when they try to turn their craft into a business?
Say most creatives don't fail due to a lack of creativity. Most creatives fail due to a lack of business practices. So I have to go out and I have to network. I have to meet people that need my services. Then I have to cultivate those relationships. Then I have to be at the right place at the right time for that to turn from a relationship of I know this person to a relationship that they're going to use our services. All of that takes time, and it takes a lot of dedication and a lot of discipline. So we have a customer relationship manager that we are constantly feeding information into so that my administrator can follow up with people who have quotes that are active. My salespeople can follow up with people that have been interested in our services, and then I can enter new people that I meet that I think we should go out and pursue. That is all a business practice. That is far before I ever pick my camera up or any of my associates pick their camera up. I am doing business long before I get the opportunity to be creative. So for me, if you're going to ask where people really struggle, it's all the things that happen before you ever pick the camera up.
Yeah, wow, that was really amazing. It just speaks volumes. Being a creative is a different thing. The business part of it, it's a different thing, and you have to learn how to actually merge the both of them together. If not, at the end of the day, you'll be the only one in business, being a solopreneur, and there's not much you could do when it comes to customer retention and consistency and everything. And this is really amazing, and I'm glad I'm having this conversation. How you did it. So you have said that you didn't chase the newest tech trend. Why not?
Every bit of technology needs to be tested and used to your
Yeah.
advantage. If you're using technology for the sake of technology, you're missing the point. So we use AI. We absolutely lean into, I've got the newest cameras, the newest lenses, lighting, etc. But the bottom line is that if you're using AI just because it's cool, but it doesn't serve your customers well, you've missed the boat. And so chasing technology isn't growing your business. When we do product photography and we're editing those products, AI all over the place. That is a great place for it. It strips out the background. It can retouch my parts that I've photographed. That's all fantastic. But to put AI on a headshot, so I go out and I'm photographing doctors and lawyers and accountants, those people need to be known, liked, and trusted by their constituents. And so if I were to throw too much retouching on an image of a doctor and a patient walks into the hospital and their doctor doesn't look like the picture, I've
Yeah.
missed that marketing and branding goal. We have to meet the goals first, not say, oh, look, I know how to use this cool trend. That doesn't serve any purpose for a commercial and marketing purpose. It does for a lot of other purposes, but not when we're trying to meet a brand strategy.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I think just speak volumes. So as much as you want to adapt to the newest stuff or the newest trend, we must make sure that when it comes to customer, we must serve them the way it's going to look as though it's humans, not just from the perspective of AI is the one or it bots doing
Yes.
it at the background of it. Yeah. So what is your perspective on creativities versus client expectation, especially in commercial photography?
You're not creative if you don't collaborate.
Mm,
And so when I'm going out and I'm working with a marketing agency, I'm working with an advertising agency, they would call me an assignment photographer. I'm given an assignment. I need to complete that assignment. I add my creativity to the overall creative team that has already come up with what the advertising is supposed to convey. So it is very different than somebody who may go paint a wall mural or someone who may create a concept that then hangs in a gallery and someone purchases it. So creativity in my field has to be all about blending my knowledge, both technical and creative, with someone else's. So collaboration is key in what I do.
yeah, amazing collaboration. Wow, thanks for telling more like giving us that particular insight. So what do you love about architectural photography and how does it challenge your creativity creatively?
I love architecture. Like it could go on and on and on about architecture and not even architectural photography as much as I love architecture. So if you've ever sat down and talked to the architect, they're the most creative but linear people you will
Yeah.
ever meet. So that is very much about what I do. As a commercial photographer, I am creative but linear. I'm technical, f-stop, shutter speeds, lens selections. Well, that architect is the exact same way, except their canvas is a building. And so getting an opportunity to go step into a architect's creation, and then I get the opportunity to then try to capture that. But when I'm out, I'm about to leave on a European vacation in 2 weeks, and that will be a time for me to go study architecture in other places and get that inspiration so that when I come back to American architecture, which is very different, I am then
Wow.
inspired to try new things and I am inspired to see what else I can do. I still haven't made it to Notre Dame yet, but that is a place that I really want to go. Most of the time when you're traveling in European countries, their churches are where they've spent the majority of their money in architecture. So I just get so inspired by it. I get so excited by it. It will literally bring me to tears when I step into a building that is so well designed. So I'm a geek for architecture.
Wow, this is really amazing. And I think it's the fact that uh being a creative, when you see a whole lot of creative other stuff being done around, just the way architecture does for you, it speaks volumes to your creativity to being that, yeah, you could be able to kind of see in the mind of those who create those things and say, wow, how did they come with that? Or what did they do different? How could I actually more like yeah, think so wide and do something creative from my own end, being that this was something that was first not on site. They were able to imagine it and brought it to life. Which that for me, it's just looking around sometimes, seeing some of those particular buildings just where you make reference of, making to start thinking, wow, how did they believe in themselves to bring out that particular structures to life? I'm like, wow, this is crazy. I think it's really lovely viewing our work and actually more like tapping into other creative means to actually spur up more and more creativity from what we actually get to do. So you mentor freelance and coming creators. Why is mentorship so important to you?
Well, I was very fortunate that I had two generations of people that were able to come alongside me and guide me in my career. I do not have a fourth generation that will be coming after me. And so all this knowledge that I have will end with me unless I figure out a way to pass it on. And so that's really what's been inspiring me, is that I know that I don't have anyone coming after me that will be taking over this field. And I want to make sure that the people that are going into the field get a chance to succeed. I just feel like that there's enough work out there that I'm not giving away any trade secrets. Photographers and their style, it's like a thumbprint. Everybody is different. Everybody's going to approach a job differently. And when I lose a job, I normally lose a job either based on money or based on style. So they're looking for a different style than what my team and I offer. So there is no downside to me coming alongside young people and helping them succeed. There's just no downside. And giving back to people the way that my family poured and invested into me, I'm just very passionate about it.
Wow, amazing, amazing. Thanks for all you do. And thanks for pouring to the next generation too. So what mindset shifts do young photographer need to make if they want to build a long-term career?
Wow. So I think people get into the field believing that they're going to be able to fulfill all their creative needs through the field. And I ask you, how many times do you go to the beach and see an accountant doing accounting on his computer while he's on vacation? You don't. And so even though photography is a creative field, once you do it for a living, it's not your creative outlet. So everyone that's in a creative field, if you want to be more creative in your field, you need to find a different
Mm.
creative outlet than your field. So I spend a lot of time in books. I love reading and taking myself to new and different places. So I spend most of my reading in fantasy books because it's not real. And I can see things through my camera differently by reading some kind of world that's not mine, if that makes any sense. So that's where I get a good bit of creativity from, is by reading. I also get a good bit of creativity by letting my mind stay still and not doing anything, by not reading a book, not listening to music, just walking and being quiet and allowing my mind to be free. So that would be my biggest thing that people don't know about going into a creative field. Once it's your job, once it's your career, it's no longer your only creative outlet.
Honestly, I think this is really, really profound. I think I've struggled with some things before, which more like I was more like a creative expression, being that yeah, I was just doing it for fun. But once it start being the thing that pays the bill, it becomes so bothersome that I'm like, wow, wow, wow. And I think the balance you just gave to it, it's really, really amazing. Being that yeah, once it become a life job, yeah, you have to look for other things that actually spoil you. And yeah, I think for me, the most interesting part about podcasting is the fact that I actually more like do more like a handy job. I run more like a cleaning company. So I do industrial cleaning and also I handle painting jobs. So I have more like my guys that goes to it. So just showing up on space, being like handy person does not get to kind of come on podcast sometimes. They don't do press laptop and everything. So doing this is more like me just figuring it out and it interests me most time. Like, wow, it's lovely here. Just showing off. I just having to connect with a whole lot of persons, listening to stories and what they do differently, and this your point just speak volumes to how you could actually spoil a whole lot of creativity from your life job and get more energy towards feeding more into that time. This is really, really very lovely. So running a creative business can be so intense. How do you balance business, family, and your own mental well-being?
So right now, I'm not. Let's just be clear. I am I am out of balance. I have honestly never had this is normally in my
Yeah,
career, this is normally a time of year where we're slow. So in America, we're getting ready for the holidays, and normally between Thanksgiving and the first week of January, I do nothing. I set my goals for next year. I finish my bookkeeping. I have meetings with my team and my staff. No time for that right now. So this morning I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning because my mind was racing so badly of everything I needed to do. And I lost my mind this morning. And so I got up at 3, I got showered and ready to go, and I decided to purge my closets. I decided to start
yeah,
cleaning out my closets because that was the one thing that I could
yeah,
control. And in my mental health, when you're dealing with mental health, a lot of it is so much is out of your
yeah,
control. And so right now, my life is out of control. And so I could control the fact that my closet needed to be purged this morning. And it made me feel better mentally to control what I could control. So when your business starts to take you out of control, I feel like you do have to grasp for those things that can bring you back into control. Another way that I do try to balance is I do schedule a vacation, and that vacation is solid. That is when I'm going to step away from the business. I may not be able to step away completely, but I am going to take the time with the people I love, and I'm going to make sure, because when you leave this world, how much money you have in your pocket is irrelevant. It's the impact that you've left on your friends, family, and loved ones that are going to carry your name on. And so I'm taking my children to Europe for 10 days, just me and my 2 kids, no spouses, no grandchildren, no nobody. This weekend, I've got my grandchildren for 2 days, and we just are going to continue to make time for those things that leave a lasting impact, because your business and your career and your money does not leave an
yeah.
impact if you're not making an impact on other people.
Yeah, this is really amazing. Thanks for actually sharing what you do when it becomes tough, because I know every creative gets kind of to that gets kind of get to that particular point when it becomes stuck, and there's a whole lot of a whole lot of things that get to figure out in their mind, and uh, their mind is running so fast with different kind of thought, and finding more like a balance to it on how to air it out is very key. Yeah, thanks for sharing your insight. So what has failure taught you, especially during the years of reinventing and restructuring the business?
What has it
Yeah,
taught
what
me?
has failure taught you?
It's just taught me that you can't give up. You absolutely have to keep putting one foot in front of the other. Life is going to knock you down, whether it's professionally or personally. I've had both. I had a terrible divorce in 2009. It left me bankrupt. My mother had to buy my equipment out of bankruptcy court for me. She said, "There's no way I'm going to let you quit. You're the best photographer we've ever had in the family." And so my mother believed in me, and I wanted to quit. I was ready. I was like, "Forget it. This is for the birds." And she wouldn't let me. And so I'm really glad that she didn't. And had I been left to my own devices of not having somebody by my side to say, "You are good at what you do. This is a hiccup. We're going to start over, and you're going to do it better and differently." You just have to keep going if you believe and if you have the commitment to what you're doing. And make sure you're surrounded by people, not just my mom is just as hard on me as she is supportive of me. She's 84 years old, and she can still bring me to my knees when I send her a photograph and she tells me everything I did wrong with it.
Mhm.
And so she's not just a yes person, she's also a avid true friend that can look at my work and give me a honest feedback of it. So you need people that can support you, but you need people that can critique you. And then you need people that are not related to your business at all that can be your network and community of people to give you outside information should the economic factors change. So You've got to be surrounded by so many people because they all fill a different role in your business.
Yeah, it's really amazing. I'm glad mom does that.
Me too.
If you had to choose one principle that guide you in all your decision, whether in skating, photography, or leadership, what would it be?
One principle. I don't know if it's a principle, but I will tell you, I always knew my children and my grandchildren were watching.
Mm,
And to know that my children to this day know how hard I've worked, they know what my work ethic has been. And I certainly am not a perfect person. There's way far away from a perfect person. But I always tried to do right by my clients and my children. My children have both told me that that had a lasting impact on them. So when you run your own business, it's not just you making money, which is very important. You don't want to be in a business that isn't making money, but you also want the people around you. You want to make an impact on your clients. You want to make an impact on your vendors. You want to make an impact on your children and your grandchildren. And you can do all that through your business. And isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing that you can have a lasting impact just by doing business ethically, by doing business kindly, and by making sure that the product that you're putting out there matches the promises that you're making. So I think if you had to ask me a principle, it would probably be impact.
wow, amazing, amazing. Thanks for actually sharing that. Okay, Lisa, how can our audience reach out to you? How can they do business with you? And what is the best platform to do this?
Well, you can always reach my website, studio13online.com. That'll show you my full gallery and portfolio, not just for me, but for my team as well. Studio 13 is on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, so you can reach us all there. And then I personally am also on LinkedIn, Lesle Lane, and you can reach me there as well. And we would love to hear from everybody.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, listening. Thank you for sharing your stories from the eyes ring to the world of conventional photography and to giving us a masterclass on resilience, leadership, and creativity. Yeah, for everyone listening, you can actually connect with Lesle Lane and explore her work on Studio 13 through the link that is going to be on the show notes. Yeah, thanks for joining us on the Aro Benaiah Show. Once again, it's really a pleasure having you on the show, Leslie.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank